All right, so we are now recording. For those of you who maybe have never been to one of our workshops before, the library hosts workshops in kind of a series. We call it our Workshop Wednesday series or our program. Thank you so much for coming. We do this just about every Wednesday during the long semesters, and they're always at noon. So our workshops are always recorded. They're uploaded to the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. So in case you ever want to go back and see maybe a workshop that you missed, or you want to rewatch the workshop, you're more than welcome to do that. At this time, I am going to share my screen. Okay. Now, can everybody see my screen on Zoom? Before we just get rocking and rolling.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay, so today we're covering what is a literature review. I am Sarah Norrell. I am the business librarian here at UT Tyler. I've been here for about 7 years now. With the College of Business, we have a lot of students and faculty who are writing literature reviews. I often get questions from students who say, my professor assigned me this literature review. I've never heard of one. I have no idea how to get started. So this is going to be kind of that foundational, how you get started on a literature review. It's hard to get started on something if you don't really understand what it is. So we don't want anybody to be intimidated by a literature review. It's actually kind of I don't want to say it's a simple concept, but it's not as scary as you may think. All right. So I said that the library does workshops throughout the long semesters. We usually plan our workshops for a year, right? So fall and spring. So I just wanted to let everybody know if you're going to be working on literature reviews. We're actually doing a series of workshops on literature reviews. Obviously today you're here, it's the 12th. We're doing what is a literature review. In November, actually the last workshop of the semester, we are doing a workshop on different types of literature reviews because there are different types, especially depending on maybe the field or your major. And then in the spring, in April, which is Research Month on campus, we are covering different tools to tackle your literature reviews. Okay. So, a lit review, right? Everybody's here because they want to figure out what a lit review is. So, simply and very simply defined, a literature review is just a document that reviews published literature on a specific topic, because that's super helpful, right? It's not helpful. Let's try it again. What is a literature review? A literature review is a document that critically summarizes or evaluates research on a topic, okay? They're meant to establish a thorough understanding of the topic, and keep in mind that literature here refers to all of the published research about the topic, okay? So, meant to evaluate what's out there, help you gain a better understanding of your topic. So why are literature reviews important? They're super important for a lot of different reasons, but I have chosen just a few. I know this doesn't look like a few, but I promise it is. Just a few reasons as to why they are very important. First of all, they help facilitate an in-depth understanding of the topic. If you have done any sort of research and you've really kind of dug into a topic at all, you've probably found or read over a literature review already. Excuse me. It also helps identify developments in the field or on the topic, right? So if this is maybe not a brand new research topic, it's been established for a while, how has this research field or topic developed and progressed over time? Okay. It also helps you identify the gaps in the existing literature. And this is especially important if you are working on kind of a bigger research project, maybe a thesis or a dissertation. You want to, maybe get published one day. Identifying those gaps really helps you inform your research question, which you then follow up with your own research. It also helps you identify subject experts and prominent researchers on the topic or in the field. So as you're digging into whatever your topic is, if you don't already know those established or very prominent researchers, then the literature review will help you identify them, and you can follow up on all of their publications and current research. That'll really help you get a very up-to-date understanding of the field. Literature reviews also help you determine the strengths, weaknesses, and sometimes issues with a field or a topic. So strengths and weaknesses, that's pretty straightforward. You know, a field may really excel in one area of the research topic, but maybe hasn't, you know, done its due diligence on another area of the research topic. That again will come back and kind of speak to those gaps in the existing literature that will, of course, inform your research question. And as a researcher, it helps you build critical thinking, evaluation, and research seeking skills. And those are all very important. So is technology when it works. Oh, sorry, went the wrong way. Okay, so we've talked about why a literature review is important. Now let's talk about the objectives of a literature review. A literature review provides context for your research question or questions, right? You want that to come out of your literature review. You also want to use a literature review to inform your audience of those developments and gaps in the topic or the field. You want the literature review to discuss the relevance and the significance of your research question or questions, right? So not only are you trying to understand why this field is important, but you also want to communicate that to your audience. It also provides a great methodological content for your approach. So let's say you want to focus on the methodology of research in your specific field or your topic, right, with your literature review. Now, in doing that, let's say you realize that the types of research or the methods of research in past, studies on this topic fell short, right? They just didn't do what they set out to do. You have that opportunity then to say, I see this issue, I'm going to change my methodology and go from there. And then also, as a researcher, it helps establish your credibility. So, lit reviews in the research process, right? We throw around the word research a lot. It means a lot of different things, especially in different fields and to different people. But if you think about a literature review kind of in the grand scape of things or the big picture, it kind of fits right in the middle, smack in the middle, right? So the first thing that you do is when you have, you've been told you need to write this research paper or you need to build a project, right? Great. You need to establish what your topic is or what your research question is. That's got to be first. You have to know which direction you're going in. Then you perform your literature review on that topic or to focus on your question. And once you do that, you have that deeper understanding, and then you use that literature review and the subsequent understanding to inform the methodology of your own research. Okay. Now, just a note, a literature review can be its own standalone document, can be published as an article, or it can be part of the introduction for, say, an essay, and it's very commonly part of an introduction to a thesis or a dissertation. So if anybody is ever curious and maybe they want to look at some example literature reviews, going and finding some great dissertations or theses to kind of look at maybe on your topic or in your field is a great way to do that. Okay, so we've talked about how important it is. We've talked about what we need that literature review to do for us. We've talked about what exactly a literature review is, but we have not talked about how to actually do one. So 5 easy steps. Easy, right? Because a literature review is going to be lengthy and it's going to take a lot of time and effort, but these are the basic steps. Of course, you want to determine your topic. You need to know the focus of your literature review. And then research your topic. Now, I'm a librarian, so I'm biased, but that's where we can help, right? If you have a topic, you're not really familiar with how to find great resources or even how to evaluate those resources, that's where your subject librarian can help, okay? So as you locate those sources, you read through them, you kind of gather that information, make sure that you take the time to identify any gaps in the literature and those prominent researchers that we've already talked about. And then step 3, after you've kind of really gathered all of the information on the topic or in the field, you want to evaluate those sources. So really analyze how those resources are relevant to your topic. What are the key findings? What are the gaps? How does it all fit together? And then there's the actual construction. So that's when you synthesize your findings. So you write about all of your key findings that you produced during your steps 2 and 3. Make sure that you don't just repeat or, kind of just copy out summaries of the resources or anything like that. You really want to take the resources, the literature that you have found, synthesize it in your own voice, and then establish what trends or key findings there are. And then, of course, show your audience how those key findings are relevant to the field. And then finally, very importantly, make sure to format and cite appropriately. Now, the thing that this very truncated list does not include is when you do synthesize your findings and you create that document, you do need an introduction and a conclusion, and that is going to further speak to your audience and communicate your findings. Okay, so we talk about synthesizing our findings. We talk about, how do we communicate our findings to our audience? So let's kind of break down some different ways that you can do that. Now, there are many different ways that you can organize a literature review. Oftentimes your faculty or your field of study will say, we prefer this, or this is ideal. Some of the heavy hitters, if you will, we have chronological, thematic, trend, and methodological. So chronological, pretty straightforward. You discuss the sources that you found in the order that they were published, right? So if we think back to maybe a research topic that has been established for a while, that could be pretty lengthy, right? You want to make sure that your topic is narrow enough in scope that you're not writing a book of a literature review, right? But organizing in a chronological manner really does help show your audience just how this research field has been established and how it's progressed. So thematic, to me, has always made the most sense. If you go through all the literature and you're thinking, okay, so I'm seeing I have my topic, it's my umbrella, but underneath this umbrella, I'm seeing kind of 3 or 4 specific themes in the literature, right? That's what a thematic literature review is all about. You point out or focus on those specific themes, and you communicate those themes and how they're relevant to the whole field to your audience. Okay. There's trend, so it just breaks your topic or your research question down into different categories and discusses the literature as it relates to each category. So if you have studied something for a while, you already know that there are 2 major trends in current research right now. You can discuss the literature that you found in your review based on those 2 trends. And methodological, that analyzes how the existing literature was done. So what is the methodology been for all of the published articles and things that you found that exist so far? So this actually doesn't focus on the content of any of the literature that you found, merely the methodology. Okay. Any questions so far? I think we may be getting questions. Maybe not. And then finally, so this has been a very I say it's been brief, it's been short, but there's a lot of information here on what exactly a literature review is. And I want to make sure that everybody has a good handful of resources to get you started. The first 4 in this list are all books, and then the last one is a really great website. This is an extremely short list as to what is out there to help you with a literature review. And if this workshop seemed pretty thin or short, that's because we are doing that series, right? So please make sure to come back because in November, so next month, we are doing another workshop on different types of literature reviews, right? So, all right. Any questions? I have none in the room. What
Can you go back to the last slide so that I can like write those down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys working on literature reviews? Yeah.
Next week.
Awesome.
Can you go more in depth about like the subject librarians and something?
I would love to go more in depth about the subject librarians. So like I said, I'm the business librarian. We're currently in a little bit of transition. We're filling a librarian position, so bear with us there. But Christine Forche, who's actually on our chat right now, is the STEM and psychology and counseling librarian. So she is fantastic. We have Vandy Dubree, who is our literature, fine art, Christine said hi, literature, fine art, education, trying to make sure, you know, a lot of our humanities. She is that librarian. And Livia Garza is our history and social sciences librarian. Okay, so any of us are very, very happy to help you if it's, you know, formatting your lit review, citing in your lit review, finding resources for your lit review. We can help you do all of that. Okay, so Christine is y'all's librarian because I know it is a psychology class, right? For those of you on Zoom, whoever your librarian is, we are certainly happy to help get you started on anything and help you all the way through. Any of us can get you started, but your subject librarian can really take it that much further because they specialize in these fields. Yes.
If they decide to take advantage of that, which would be a really great idea, how should they reach out and schedule or
Sure.
make that happen?
Yeah, so if you're interested at all in contacting your subject librarian, you want to maybe set up a meeting or a phone call or anything like that, you can reach us in many, many ways, right? So as far as the library goes, we always try to be as available as possible. You can always stop in the building if you are local and you want to just step at the help desk and say, hey, I need to reach out to my subject librarian. You can find all of our contact information on the library's website. Christine did link to that in the chat. So those of you there, you can definitely follow that link if you'd like, or you can just, you know, look up the website. As far as our contact information, you know, I know all of us are extremely flexible. We have a chat feature on the library's website, and each time you use that, I promise you, you're talking to an actual human being and not like a robot. So that is definitely very promising. So 9 times out of 10, one of the librarians is actually monitoring that chat. So if you reach out and you say, hey, I'm looking for this person, or hey, I have this project and I don't know where to start. Chat is a good way to just get connected. You can always email us or call us. And then Christine also pointed out a really great thing. In all of your courses in Canvas, you should have a button kind of along that left-hand menu that says library resources. And that has a lot of great library resources, ways to get started, ways to contact your librarian, you name it. We try to keep it as easy and streamlined as possible. Any other questions? Any questions on Zoom? I'd like to give a moment. Sometimes it takes a minute to type out a question, I understand. Oh, see. Oh, just a thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now and kind of close out. Again, this has been recorded. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so feel free to go back and watch it. Use these resources however you see fit. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.